All right, welcome to the Quality Matters Template Training webinar. I'm Leanne. This is just a short, hopefully 25, no longer than 30-minute webinar that is essentially to take kind of what you've learned in the Quality Matters workshop, whether it be yesterday or a while ago, and essentially apply it in a really concrete way to our learning management system, to Blackboard, right? So the central question we sort of asked ourselves is, what are some components of the Quality Matters rubric that we can incorporate into Blackboard that will make it easier for our instructors to achieve these standards? And so we came up with essentially a Quality Matters template for Blackboard. These are menu items that essentially help promote Quality Matters best practice and help sort of guide instructors towards stronger online and hybrid course design. So what I'm going to do first is, you are probably staring at the summer-fall 2019 Blackboard template options. So this is a document that is contained within your OneDrive folder that I built for your cohort. So if you need to refer back to it at any point, you have a copy. You don't need to rely on this webinar. What this document shows you is essentially the options that you have for Blackboard use currently, one of which is the Quality Matters template. And in a couple minutes, we'll do kind of a deep dive into the Quality Matters template if you're not familiar with it. But one thing that we do like to kind of make clear is that at this time, you are not required to use the Quality Matters template for Blackboard. Eventually, we will move to a Quality Matters template when we move to Blackboard Ultra. That's down the road, though. We don't have a hard date for that at this current moment of this webinar. But in the meantime, we do strongly encourage the use of the Quality Matters template because it'll probably make the transition later much easier. But technically, it is still voluntary. So I'm going to walk you through this document. So essentially, when you get your Blackboard shell, you of course have the option to build content like from scratch, right? Over in your left-hand menu, you can see this plus sign in any of your courses, and that is how you can build content within Blackboard. I do want to say that no matter what path towards building your board course that you choose, there are some things that you should have in there just as best practice. So clearly you should have an announcements tab. I also recommend allowing your students access to the grades and tools tab so that they can get to their grades, a discussion board link. These are things that are nice for students to have in there. Again, there's no college-wide mandate that says you have to have those things, but if you are going to choose to build a course from scratch, those are nice features to have. So that's essentially option one for Blackboard use. Option two is to use the Quality Matters template in your course. Right now, I just want to show you how you can request a Quality Matters template. Here's the good news. If you're in this cohort right now, your capstone course, where you will build your capstone, actually already has the template for you. So if you like it and you want it, you can do a course copy from there. If you would like to request additional QM templates for other courses that maybe you have course masters of or that you want to develop, this is how you would do that. You would simply go to ITS and click Request New Service. So it's a little shopping cart right here. And then you would select Blackboard as your service category. And then it would take you to the option for the Quality Matters template. Then you would type into this box what course or courses you would like the QM template applied to, and then click Place Request. Now you can also request the QM template as a sandbox course or a course master. And essentially what those are is they're just places, they're just courses. They're not attached to a technical course ID in Colleague. There's no students in them, but they're places you can build and structure a course before you course copy down, okay? Similar to what you're building your capstone in. That's a sandbox. So you can always request those types of courses instead of, if it makes you nervous, to ask for the QM template in a live course. So I just like to point that out. The third option for Blackboard template use is if you have a course from a couple semesters ago and you really like the way it's structured and you're not ready to move over to QM yet, you can just do a course copy of that old format. I'm thinking of the kind of previous way Blackboard looked, where it had instructor contact, course documents, course information, all that sort of stuff. You could just course copy that over. If you have forgotten how to complete a course copy, I have included in this document a link that will tell you how to do that. So that is right here under option 3. This link will take you to the interactive guide for how to complete a course copy. If you are a program coordinator or department chair and you need to make dozens of copies of the course for an adjunct, you can do that through ITS. It's that same service page, Blackboard. Instead of clicking QM template, you would click course copy request. And here is where you could say, you know, I'm a program coordinator and I need 10 sections of English 111 for all of my adjuncts. Okay. So hopefully these 3 options are pretty clear. So again, just to review, in Blackboard, you can build a course from scratch. You can request a Quality Matters template, or you can create a copy of a previous course from another semester that you like. Okay, so we just like to get that out there as the current options for how your course design appears within the learning management system within Blackboard. Now, I will say, as a kind of caveat, the last page of this document reminds you that even though you have these options for your courses and how they appear in Blackboard, there are a few things that our provost has mandated. So, for example, you have to have a positive welcome message in your announcements by the start date. You have to have your course-specific syllabus by the start date. You have to have those Forsyth Tech universal policies and procedures. You have to list your instructor contact. And then these last 2 are the ones that are kind of more new and a little bit more difficult than just punching in a syllabus. You do have to have your course entry assignment submitted through Blackboard. The students must complete it through Blackboard and receive some form of credit for it through Blackboard. You also need to be recording grades in the grade center. The provost has asked that you record all grades in the grade center, so that needs to be a priority. And then making sure that whatever the real grade for the class is, so for example, if you weight your grade, you operate in percentages rather than just points, making sure that that weighted grade column is set as the external grade, because this is what is reported to Starfish for early intervention purposes. If you're like, Leanne, none of this makes any sense, you're speaking gobbledygook, in this document, it has instructions for how to set your grade center column as the external grade. So if you need that resource, it's built into the document for you as well. So I just wanted to take a few minutes and offer a refresher about what your Blackboard template options are currently at this time. Okay, so with that in mind, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about the Quality Matters template for Blackboard. So as I mentioned at the start of this webinar, we wanted to have really concrete, tangible ways to make adhering to the specific review standards in the Quality Matters rubric easier. So we built this template. I want to give you some background information really quickly. I don't have the documents pulled up here because they are gigantic. They're 40, 50, 60 pages long, but if you ever want this report, I'm more than happy to share it with you. We beta tested this template with an N of 588 students before we pushed it out to the college. And the survey results were great. Students really liked the Quality Matters template. They liked a lot of the features, much better than the previous iteration of the Blackboard default template, and so that was what greenlit us to go ahead and to make it available to the wider college. So in other words, what you're looking at on my screen right now did not just happen because I felt like it or someone in the CTL felt like it. This template was built by a faculty learning community. It was then beta tested through a semester, and all that data, that N of 588 students, was gathered. And then after we gathered all that data, the faculty learning community went back to the drawing board, made additional recommendations, and then we revised the template again. So basically all of 2017 was building this template. So we're proud of it, and we do think it is user-friendly. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. What I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to walk you through it. If you've never seen this template before, I want to point out the features and give you the reasoning behind it. How does what you're looking at connect back to the Quality Matters rubric? So let's take a look. You'll notice that this section, my course, begins with Start Here. Right? Start Here is built to align with General Standard 1 in the Quality Matters rubric. Okay, this is a nice feature to have, especially if you have online learners that have never taken an online course before. It doesn't get much clearer than, hey, see this button right here? Start with it. What I'm showing you is the Blackboard QM template without content added into it. In a couple of minutes, I will show you a sample course of what a Start Here page could potentially look like. But again, if you've taken the Quality Matters training, you know, and this is really important, so if you've tuned out, tune back in, there are multiple ways to meet the expectations of the rubric. You do not have to build a Start Here page the way I build it. You can build it in a variety of ways and still be meeting the standards of General Standard 1 in the rubric. I just want to make that clear. So for right now, you're just looking at the base model of the QM template, and in a minute, I'll show you a kind of sample template just to give you some ideas. Then you'll notice, besides the Start Here, we did prefabricate a link that goes to the syllabus, which is the next menu item, which just says syllabus. The students in our data very much loved having a syllabus button, right? Just one button designated for the syllabus. They don't have to wonder, is it under course information? Is it under course documents? Is it an assignment? No, it's the syllabus, and it's right here. We also, in the template, included an explanation of a syllabus. Again, many of our learners are adult learners, returning learners. They may not know what that word means. It feels silly to us, but it's not to a student that is maybe an English language learner or doesn't really understand kind of what college is all about. So we've built that description in for them, and then of course created an automatic link to the universal policies and procedures so that you don't have to do it. The next menu item is course schedule and policies. And when we look at the sample template in a moment, this will become much clearer as to why we built this button. Then the fourth button is coursework. And it just is, right? No longer do they have to say, wait, is this a course document? Is it an assignment? What is it? It's all coursework. This is built on the Quality Matters idea of alignment. We don't want students to just go do the assignments. We want them to read what they're supposed to read, to watch the video they're supposed to watch in order to do well on the assignments. We found in our data that students weren't looking at course documents. They weren't looking at course information. They were just zipping into the quiz and hoping for the best. now Coursework, it filters them directly where they need to go into the module, the week, the unit of study, and to see everything there laid out for them. In the default template, we did sort of say if you have course publisher information, it's something you can also add to Coursework. For those of you that are like, I don't know what that means, what is course publisher information? This is where you can add a note to your students saying, hey, we're going to be using my math lab. Here's how you log into my math lab. Here's the textbook code you need, and so on and so forth. The fifth tab under course, my course, is campus resources. The reason for campus resources is this aligns with QM General Standard 7. Okay, QM General Standard 7 is all about linking to academic policies, so providing students a link to the academic handbook, giving them access to student and academic services. You'll notice we built that link for you. It takes you to the base page student services. Everything is here, you know, records, transcripts, the library, the cashier's office, disability support, campus safety. One question that I have been asked many times is, hey, can I create separate links for things like the library or minority male success in addition to this base student services navigation link? The answer to that is absolutely you can. If you are teaching an English class and really want them to have access to writing tutors, feel free to make that a separate link within your campus resources tab. Again, that's entirely instructor freedom, instructor privilege, but we just wanted you to have the most general link in the default template. Okay, that is the bulk of the QM template. Everything else that you'll notice on the menu, it just kind of is what it is. Announcements is just the link to the announcements page. Instructor contact just goes to that contact card. Blackboard tools takes you to the tool page. Discussion board takes you to a discussion board. We did pre-build 2 discussion board forums, student to student and student questions for instructor. The only reason we built these is because when we did all of our data and all of our testing, we found that these were the 2 most common forums that instructors were building anyway. So we went ahead and added them in. If these don't work for you, you are absolutely free to delete them. And then the final quick link is My Grades. This takes them directly to the page for their grades. This is a big change. Previously, with the old template, they had to go to Grades and Tools, click it, and then click My Grades. Now all they have to do, if they want to know what they made on something, click the button, it takes them right there. In our results from that N of 588 students, this was the one question 100% of respondents on a Likert scale said 5 out of 5, this is a good button to have and to keep and don't ever change it. So, we really feel strongly that this is a good way for students to see their grades. It is also compatible with QM General Standards 4 and 5. Below, you will see a whole section for technical support, which aligns with QM General Standard 6. It also somewhat aligns with QM General Standard 8, but pretty much totally with QM General Standard 6. So there's a link to the ITS Support Center. There is a link to Blackboard tutorials for students. So if they need to know how to submit an assignment, they can watch video, and then a support button for 24/7 Blackboard help. Then there are the textbook resources, so the Barnes & Noble bookstore link. And then finally, these last 2 items students can't see. They're just the instructor only and the QM template user guide. The instructor only is exactly what an instructor only functions like in the old version. And then the QM template user guide, which again, your students cannot see. It takes you to a picture of me in my messy hair. And it has an option to download a user guide for the Quality Matters template. This user guide that you're looking at is a written version of part of this webinar. So it kind of gives you a written overview of what the different areas of the template are and how to apply them. Okay, so what we've done so far in this webinar is covered what options you have for Blackboard, and we've taken a look at the QM template and talked about how these menu items align to the QM general standards and why we built it the way we built it. But, you know, this is kind of an empty shell, right? There's not any content in here. Course schedule and policies is completely empty. So what I'm going to show you now is a kind of mock template, a mock-up of a course. How could you populate your QM template? So this is, again, everything I'm about to say is just suggestion. You are in no way required to have these specific items within any of these folders. But if you're looking for ideas for what goes in a Start Here, if you want to link to your instructor introduction again or repost it in a Start Here, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to, but you can. If you want to post your course entry assignment in your Start Here, that's a great place to do it. You'll notice in this sample template, I've done little parentheticals that say like QM 1.8, QM 1.9. If you've zoned out, zone back in. You do not have to put these parentheticals in your course. I have people ask me that, wait, are we supposed to be putting QM whatever next to content? No, your students don't know what that means and they don't care. The only reason it's in this sample template is for this webinar. It's just so I can show you the reason you might consider putting your course entry assignment in Start Here is because it would help you meet QM Standard 1.9. Is it the only way to meet QM 1.9? No, it is not. There are many ways to meet QM 1.9, but of course, entry assignment, we'll check it off the list. You can create a syllabus assignment in your Start Here page if you would like. You can provide a course navigation statement, or even better, if your course is really dense, a quick video, a quick screencast of how your course is set up. Right? They can follow the clicks to find what they need. You can also provide them with tips and tricks for how to be successful in an online course, such as time management skills, pacing, 5-day study plans. And then a what next is also a nice feature you can consider including. So essentially saying, have you looked at my introduction? Have you done your course entry? Have you read the syllabus? So on and so forth. If you can answer yes to all of this, here's where your next assignment is. And you would direct them to the folder in which I'm their first assignment. Okay, so these are just some ideas for a Start Here. I'm going to pause for a second and answer the question that might be on your mind. Can you get a copy of this, this thing that you're looking at right now? And the answer is yes. So we have created this as an organization for you to join. We didn't want to put it in as a course because then you would be like a student and wouldn't have instructor access. It was kind of a big mess. So we've created this as an organization within Blackboard that you can self-enroll to, so that if you want to copy content, you can. And the instructions for doing that will be posted to your online learner engagement course. Okay, so the instructions for how to self-enroll in this mock QM template are in your learner engagement course. Okay, I'm going to move on with the mock template syllabus. Pretty straightforward. Upload your syllabus. Again, you might want to make sure though that it is ADA compliant. Okay. Course schedule policies. This is the one that I get the most questions about. If you want to repost your course syllabus, you can. You do not have to. I find that having a course schedule and policies button is really beneficial. This helps meet QM alignment standards. It also helps meet some of QM General Standard 5 and some of QM General Standard 3. For example, if you have a schedule that changes regularly and you don't want to be beholden to updating your syllabus constantly, consider posting your schedule here, right? You only have to change it one place that way. If you are like me and teach a class that has really robust group discussion, if I were to post my group discussion policies and rubrics in my syllabus would be an extra 8 pages long. So I'm going to pull that out of my syllabus and set it here as my course participation and interaction policies. I also teach a class where there are 4 different papers, and there are 4 really specific rubrics for each of those papers. So I'm going to put a file folder of all the rubrics for all the major assignments in my class under my course schedule and policies page. I will also attach them to the papers, but you know how students are. They need to have redundancy. They need to have the information in more than one place. So I consider putting my grading rubrics here. Then these last 2 here, privacy policies and accessibility statements. I get lots of questions about these. So QM General Standard 6 asks that you provide links to the privacy policies for any third-party tools. So for example, if you're using YouTube, you have to tell your students how their data is being used. If you're linking to lynda.com or LinkedIn Learning videos, you have to tell your students how their data is being used, right? They have to go outside of Blackboard to do something, right? What is their cookie policy? Having a course schedule and policies tab where you can just dump those things is great. Same with accessibility statements. If you're using those third-party tools like YouTube, QM asks that you provide the accessibility statements for those tools. For example, how does LinkedIn Learning, formerly lynda.com, how do they make their technology accessible to people with learning differences and learning disabilities? What is closed caption policy, right? These are things that you can provide your students really quickly under course schedule and policies. Just dump them all, just dump all the links in a folder and move on with your day. Okay. One question I get asked is, well, how do I find privacy policies and accessibility statements? The short answer is you just Google it. You can literally Google privacy policy YouTube, it'll pop up. If there's not an accessibility statement or a privacy policy for it to use, you just have to let the student know that. You just have to say there is no privacy policy for this tool, there is no accessibility statement for this tool. Okay, so that is a kind of little tip and trick for getting that done. Under coursework, again, how you structure this is entirely up to you. Quality Matters does not care truly how you set it up. What we suggest, though, as best practice is think about how your course is structured. So some of you teach in modules. Great. Some of you teach in units. Some of you teach in weeks, right? Week 1, week 2, week 3. Some of you teach in chapters, right? Chapter 1, chapter 10, chapter 4. So however you organize your course, please feel free to do that. However, what QM does care about is that whatever structure you use to organize, module, unit, week, chapter, QM 4.2 does ask that you give an introduction to the unit of study and list the learning objectives for the unit of study. So not just for the course, but again at that module or smaller unit level. So building those in can be a really nice feature for your students. From there, you know, the world's your oyster. You can put your test for that chapter or module, your assignment schedule for that module, grading rubrics, key terms and concepts, a folder of videos they have to watch, a folder of labs, their projects, all those things that you're putting in your course to make it more engaging for your students. Putting them under each week or module or unit is really helpful for the students. Okay. And that's pretty much the bulk of the mock or sample template, because again, as we've talked about, you can add some extra campus resource links if you want, and then everything else, it just kind of is what it is, right? There's nothing really for you to build within Blackboard tools. It is Blackboard tools. So hopefully you're seeing that this is a pretty clean menu. There's not a lot of overkill. It is pretty user-friendly, and it supports the Quality Matters general standards. It just makes it easier for you to start thinking about, am I meeting these expectations of the Quality Matters rubric? So I'm going to wrap things up right now by just pointing you to your next step. So you've watched the Quality Matters template training. This was it. Pretty painless, right? So your next step is to complete your reflection questions and your discussion board activity. So the way you're going to do that is if you go to your online engagement course, all you have to do is go over to your Coursework tab, and down at the bottom you will see your QMTT reflection questions and the submission link to upload those questions. So that's how you'll complete the reflection questions. And then for your discussion board, you simply go over to discussion board and complete your discussion activity there. Okay. The only other thing I'm going to say before I wrap up this webinar is that, as a reminder, you will not be building your capstone project in the online engagement course. Hopefully you've had a chance to poke around in it, and what you'll notice is that everything in this coursework folder is tips and tricks for making your course more engaging. So let's say, for example, you use a lot of PowerPoints. How can you make those PowerPoints more engaging, right? Have you ever considered doing a voiceover thread within your PowerPoint? Have you ever thought about a branching activity? Have you ever thought about creating a podcast or using a Think, Pair, Share assignment, right? This is essentially a repository for you. Your capstone project will be built in the sandbox that I created for you that says capstone, your cohort, and then your last name, okay? So again, you're not building anything in the online engagement course. You're building it in your capstone sandbox. Okay. With that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and pretty much sign off from here. So you have your next steps. You have my contact information. If you have any questions or concerns at any time, please reach out to me. I'm here to help. This is a recording. Blackboard does not have an option to close caption. I'm doing it in Blackboard for the sake of consistency, but I would like to apologize ahead of time that this is not closed captioned. I would prefer to have done it through YouTube, but because this is a Blackboard experiment, we felt it would be best to do it through Blackboard. Hopefully they will do auto captioning soon and collaborate the way YouTube does auto captioning now. So we're waiting on that feature. But I do want to make that apology because I don't like it. I prefer to do things through YouTube so I can get those closed captions in there. As always, reach out to me anytime you need anything. And thank you for listening to me.